Perhaps you're familiarized to my early entrances into Dominum's work and our mutual explorations into the evolving voice of Hey Living People, whether it be the first 5 singles, or the subsequent and now revealed full album debut, which, as I told you, based on an impulsive decision that I think is warranted, and a growing maintenance of evolution within European-based metal. It's funny to me, again, how it used to be an exception and now it's becoming quite the regular appearance. But I think it's deserved for Dominum. Again, I love to give artists that are an initiate standing of exposure to the public a welcome focus on part of a full album spotlight. And for Dominum, I think it is deserved, in hopes that, as I've indicated before, and maybe you remember my statements, I truly do hope there's not only a future for this group going past Hey Living People, because so far the vision to what we've experienced together in this album, I think, has been quite great, but just in an evolution of journey, they really deserve to go places, and it seems that connection points are already being forged, not just in new fan exposure with the Napalm Records connection, which will automatically, I'm sure, bring in familiarized fans to many other metal groups, of which Dominum, based on metal prowess and what we've witnessed together, will have exceptional appeal, if not already, but also as well based on plugs I'm seeing in the metal world. In fact, in preparation of other artists I'm consulting today, which we oftentimes do in a collaborative respect, I think music is best enjoyed in company, and any artist we've humored, whether it be on introductory status or familiarized name status to me, have been quite great encounters, and Dominum has been no exception to that. And I welcome all, by the way, if you happen to be a familiarized listener to them in their recent days of exploration of voice, which this isn't always the mold we take of lens with European exposure. I typically arrive to many of these names late via either other artist connection points or your recommendations, and I keep a vast catalog where Dominum is a rather recent appearance, so they're quite a departure. And I'm assuming maybe some of you weighed in with unfamiliarized experience. If so, I want you to feel as welcome here as any other fans like myself that are developing an understanding for their work and an appreciation. And I think there's maybe more points of access that are being forged. I'm seeing, in part, a lot of ads being broadcast on particular metal press outlets. I am referencing currently at least Blabbermouth, and I understand there's probably, paid connections, I get it, and there's obviously a connection point to Napalm Records, having such a vast metal music supply. I understand, but word is getting out, as it deserves to, and I do hope for that in our exposures. New routes can possibly be pitched to any new listeners who have not yet taken the gamble of humoring Dominum, and if you are of that view, I think you're going to quite like them. Even if you're not necessarily a metal fan first and foremost, if you're a fan of independent adventurism and exploration, certainly of tonal feel, I think you're going to quite be charmed in presence by Dominum. I would say, because we're on the 7th piece of the record, Frankenstein, humor the 6 numbers in anticipation of what, again, we've recognized together in a collaborative respect, to the first 5 singles credit going from Immortalis Dominum to Patient Zero. In a bit of a different order in terms of how they're released, I'm going by track listing here, or the first entrance to the album of We All Taste the Same, the most recent entrance we had. And again, on Metal Extremes, I've noticed modern, heavy, and power influences, beautifully resonant, and in fact, connective to other types of metal and voices I quite admire within the European exposure we've taken together, many names of which, and in traditionalized metal, I'm certainly seeing prominent roots, and of a German origin. I like that scene in particular with credit to some of their folk offerings. This is a bit of a departure. But, well, actually, some of their songs I think might have touched on a very light tone. Or I'm thinking maybe another group. Either way, there is a bit of a clear reminiscence not only on accent, but individualized personality and camp factor. I love the balance of that, specifically on the 2 entries I'm thinking of with the most recent We All Taste the Same exposure we had, and Cannibal Corpses. The balance between seriousness of execution and tone, paired with immediate superficial levity, I really like it. Frankenstein, I don't know where this is going to go. It could be more so direct in terms of, again, the horror focus, which Immortalis Dominum, Hey Living People, Danger, Danger, and Patient Zero have all played into. In whatever way we approach, I'm sure we're all going to be in for a good time as we continue down the Dominum road of a first exploration and maybe a first window for you. I hope some of you are approaching, again, Dominum's graces with a fresh lens, and I think you're definitely going to be pleased. I've been so far. Independent personality that really shines within metal delivery. And I'm sure going forward, that journey and view will continue, I have no doubt. Let's initiate together with Frankenstein in a first introduction.
That man you've all heard of, the one to set the plot. He had the vision and
Perfect rhythm on entrance so far. Good balance on field of score here. Fantastic key. I love the tragedy of it. It's It's in fact a favorite of mine. Burning many metal talents. It's cool to see Dominum fit in that respect. Fantastic vocal rises. Fantastic. Classic metal and rock twinges, beautifully interwoven and simple. But I love what I'm calling those 80s cues. Plus the keyboard effect is sort of pseudo-symphonic. Again, great character. I love the defined drops on this. Those pauses too, respectable. A lot of effects applied to this one, but again, individualized personality to every number, but key roots standing out. Frankenstein's another beautiful contribution. Wow. Okay, a harder riff section, interesting. Again, with the keyboard emphasis we had directed in the choruses as a background employment. It's an amplification of earlier entrants to this particular track, but I quite like it. Man, this one stands out. The key shifts in obvious control. Good touch. Man, I like it. Digging in well. And to make this a conclusion agent too, great choice. Intermixing on lighter riffs paired well with the keyboard on that closure. It's such a good definition to the piece to have that be the background element. And again, an even balance with the metal touch. As I said, obvious metal prowess, defined distinctly. I get immediate pickup vibes to the earliest entrances for me within the rock world. And I've noted before my path of access, which I know probably doesn't mimic everybody's. Mine is quite original, in that again, I was raised on Christian music in the worship and contemporary spaces, which led to an immediate doorway of access into the rock world, and of which now I've broadened down sort of a 50-50 split between Christian metal and rock voices and plenty of secularized ones. Some of the earliest windows for me, I've qualified them before. Again, I love to dig back in my roots of nostalgia. Whenever it comes back to a kickback effect, oh, I get it readily. I don't know why it's so oftentimes a Petra attribution I readily see, but again, it's like an older 80s chic. It just instantly connects. Oh, man. But with the key choice here that I really like, that is offered by plenty of my particular favorites in the metal world. I forget maybe specific names right now, but there are some standouts that this closely mimics again on key presentation. I forget exactly what it is, operating from, again, a 5-year piano journey many moons ago. I'm more a music connoisseur than I am a musician, though I wish I could have a broader window of specificity, and I am picking up on things along the way and trying to self-teach wherever I can. But exposure to, again, any nostalgic threads on memory, I immediately revere. So the connective tissue to this, to again, a modernized metal number with distinct power metal drifts and a very, very light, as I call it, symphonic effect, paired with that keyboard. I believe on the transition between the first chorus and second verse. Fantastic development. I love that shade. Again, multitudes of metal voices interwoven in. Again, void of knowledge of a preferred declaration based on band statement. I'm giving you a good mixture of what I've noticed between modern, heavy, and power extremes. Now we have to interweave at least symphonic very lightly. But that effect is still there. And I love the definition of how it's applied in Frankenstein. It's subtle, but it's a great cue. The balance, again, on vocal delivery as well, Dr. Dead. Very much impresses. Again, the characterization of this group is quite charming for me. As somebody who, admittedly, I am much more in the camp of thriller exposure than I am, than I've been with horror. But, again, I welcome independence. And in the music world, I find it quite creative to venture out in original paths. And DOMINUM has certainly mastered that in terms of my fellowship with them. Again, they were a gamble when they first popped up with Patient Zero. I think it was based on recommendation. Did I explain this before? I might not have. It was through, no, I think I did lightly. D'Artagnan, their lead member, now I'm mixing up groups in the German respect. Ben Metzner from D'Artagnan, or as he's known on Feuerschwang's Hody. I saw that there was a connection between the two. I think it was on Instagram that DOMINUM became an entrance name of First Awareness. And then I saw some of their numbers published by Napalm Records in their earlier days, starting with Patient Zero. They were a gamble in the beginning, but again, any piece or artist we've humored has been quite advantageous, I find, and notably of the European metal extreme. Patient Zero set a great foothold for our evolution of experience that I am still quite shocked by the level of execution and superiority on voice and field with Hey Living People. This truly is an encompassing album, I think, for any metal lover. It taps into a variety of extremes, and Frankenstein, in its individualized presence and its achievements, again, on key, vocals, of course, are great. The hard riff dominance, plus, again, that instrumental break where that really presented itself well, coupled with the keyboard. Fantastic development. But it's that keyboard that's really striking to me, just in those chorus sections. And even the evolution on certain notes I didn't predict. Again, unexpectedness. I like that. But when you meld it to defined metal achievements from some of my particular favorites, you make an instant connection. And the superiority I see, just in first introduction of DOMINUM, is incredibly impressive. And you don't always see that with forging groups. I mean, sometimes you see talents that are definitely in a we're finding our voice phase. But some initiate right off the bat, having a clear definition or a wider field of aptitude. DOMINUM is one such credit. And many have graced this channel of that respect. DOMINUM is just an ever beautiful attribution, again, in my European metal exposure and deep dive, and one that I've not regretted any step at all of the way in. And I'm sure as we go forward, in a bit of a, admittedly, distorted order from what I normally do, I've decided to consult Hey Living People via the original numbers first. I'm in the midst of Phase 2 artist consultations, and it's quite a robust lineup. Included in our present selection are a number of covers. I think it best to put them in lockstep with one another and maybe humor the original numbers in advance where permitted. So we're going to start with that path, and I'm thinking, again, with DOMINUM, that'll be a return to track 8 later, going instead next up to number 9, Better Shoot Yourself. Okay, dramatic name, fits, I guess, but quite potently into the horror direction, with a bit of a realism touch, a tragic one. I'm curious to look at it again with the DOMINUM credit. I've been really impressed so far. I hope you have been too. If this is perhaps a first doorway for you, what do you think? Or, if you are like me, in the fellowship of DOMINUM, and you have been since the beginning, at least it's close enough to when Patient Zero released. What are you thinking so far in Hey Living People's development of voice? I'm very impressed with it. Strong album. 7 entries in. They've really impressed me. Frankenstein, probably one of my favorite numbers thus far. Again, you bring me that key in particular, with its connection to some of my metal favorites. An immediate tie. But in the variety of genres, and the nostalgic rewind effect of that keyboard, man, it's a good piece. I quite like it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.